So I would, while I was on the way over there, I would like wait and see if I could like see a lady by herself, then expose myself to her.
Welcome back to Other People's Lives. I'm Joe Santagato.
I'm Greg Dybec.
For anyone out there that would like to be a guest on our show, you can reach out to us on our website, oplshow.com, or send us an email directly at oplpodcast@gmail.com.
Yeah, and if you want to join our community of patrons to help support the show, you can head over to patreon.com/OPL show. You get access to our Discord channel to speak with us and other patrons, and you get to help us donate money each month to a different charity or individual, and you can help us decide where that money goes. So, for today's episode, we're going to be speaking with a registered sex offender, a man who reached out to us because he is interested in talking about his past behavior, wrongdoings, but also how he found himself on the road to recovery. So we're looking forward to the conversation. And as always, we have our guest on the line. So thank you so much for being on today.
Oh, yeah, appreciate it. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. So from my understanding, there's a lot of ways that a person can become a registered sex offender. So what is it that you did exactly that got you caught and got you registered, and when did it begin?
So my offense was indecent exposure, and that's when you expose yourself, either your genitals or any sexual body part, with the intent of your own sexual gratification or the other person's sexual gratification. And I first started doing this when I was around 17. And I've probably done it maybe like 20 times from there.
So at 17, like what exactly was this first time that you did this sort of thing? Like what was happening?
So I was going to my friend's house, and I had to basically walk through an apartment complex. And like when I'm walking through, there would be like a lady and like walking through her stairwell or whatever or whatnot. So I would, while I was on the way over there, I would like wait and see if I could like see a lady by herself, then expose myself to her. Like somewhere like secretive, like where nobody else can see me except for her.
Huh. And what did you get from that? Was it just like a rush that you were able to like?
Yeah, it was it was like an adrenaline rush. It wasn't that much like I thought anything was going to happen. Like if anything did happen from it, like if she enjoyed it, that's just a plus. But it was mainly the adrenaline rush.
Was it premeditated? Did you kind of plan on this, or
Yeah.
Okay, so it wasn't something spontaneous.
No.
Okay, what was the initial reason? I guess you kind of just said it's just that adrenaline rush, but was it going through your mind at that time like, oh, well, this is actually super illegal and wrong, and if I get caught doing this, I could get in serious trouble?
I didn't know the first time, so I didn't know it was that big of a deal because, so like with the other offenses that you could be put on, become a sexual registered sex offender for. Like, rape, child abuse, child molestation, child porn, and things like that. Those are the main ones that get like the most media coverage, and people would try to do their best to stop, but not with this one, not with indecent exposure. Even when you like see indecent exposure like on shows, like the episode where in The Office where I forgot who got flashed. I think it was Phyllis.
Yeah.
They didn't really make that big of a fuss about it. Or I know in New Girl there was an episode where they were talking about a flasher and they didn't make that big of a fuss about it. So
yeah, so it's like a guy, like there's a guy in a trench coat or something walking around, and
So it's like, oh, he's creepy, but like you never really think about like the consequences for him because nobody ever like talks about the consequences for it.
So you're saying that the reason why you thought that it, like, or maybe in your mind you were sort of justifying what you were doing was because the way it was portrayed in the media was sort of a silly thing?
Yeah, like I never really thought that it really affected somebody that much, like it really hurt anybody that badly. I thought it was a thing that people just blew off and just went on about their day with.
So you said you started doing this at 17 and then you did it about 20 times, like over the course of how many years?
A few years, maybe. The last time I did it was back in 2017, 2018.
What, I guess, what made you do it again? Because there's kind of that initial adrenaline rush, but then to make that consistent in your life, what was it? Like, you just kept getting a rush, or did that rush build? I'm also curious, like, the reactions that you got from the people that you were flashing. I'm assuming they were women.
Yeah, they're all women. And their reaction is always nothing. Like, they either act like they didn't see it, or they just look at you and keep walking. And the reason I kept doing it was you get addicted to the feeling of like them seeing you and nothing happening, and also that adrenaline rush. And I was addicted to porn at that time, so that was really a way for me that just kept fueling the fire, honestly.
And was there, because you said that at 17 you didn't really know that it was illegal, but at some point over those years, did you eventually find out I could go to jail for this, but continue to do it anyway?
Yeah, because it's not really, it's like they keep giving you chances. Like, I know what the consequences are going to be, and that really wasn't that much of a deterrent, honestly.
So what are the consequences exactly? Or in your mind, what was the worst that could happen?
So after one time, I just was on probation for a misdemeanor. Second time, it's still a misdemeanor, but you become a registered sex offender after the second time that you commit it. And so after the second time, I didn't do it again. Like, after the second time I got caught, that's when I stopped doing it. And so after that point, if you get caught again, you're going to go to prison.
Gotcha. So can you tell us about the first time you got caught and then the second time that you got caught? Also, just like logistically, like, what were you doing exactly? Like, how were you exposing yourself, and in what type of settings?
So the first time I was in a stairwell at these apartment complex that I was walking through. I flashed this woman, and then maybe 5 minutes later, I was still sitting on the stairwells. Like, I just sat down on the stairwell after I flashed her. And like 5 minutes later, it was at nighttime, a cop pulled up and flashed his lights. And I was scared. I told him the truth of what happened. Took me to jail and everything. All the legal stuff happened. The second time, I was in a home furniture store, I think, because I was in like a big department home store. I flashed this woman. I left after I flashed her. And this time, somebody took a picture of my license plate. And that's how I got caught. But I didn't get caught then. I got caught like later on. I got pulled over for a ticket and just like a traffic violation. And he saw there was a warrant out for my arrest.
Okay.
So, I mean, I don't know. It's just like, but you know that it's wrong, but you continue to do it, especially in places like a store. Even you're not worried about like a public reaction to this, like people screaming, or I don't know. Like, what if this woman, you say that every woman that you've done this to has kind of had no reaction, but you're not thinking at all about if some woman being horrified and like screaming and causing a scene.
Yeah, you are. That is going through your head, but you just believe that you can get away, and the reward of exposing yourself just overtakes any rational thought you have about getting caught, really.
And then what's the sexual gratification for you? Does it happen in that moment of adrenaline and your genitals are out, or do you like go back and relive the moments, or like masturbate to the idea?
No, I don't relive the moments. It's in that very moment. I can't even remember only times I can remember are the times I got caught. So those 2 times. Any time other than that, I can like vaguely remember because I used to do it in the same spots. But other than that, I don't even remember the women's faces.
Huh.
To be honest.
So,
Go ahead, John.
yeah, why do you not remember anything? You just kind of like black out in that moment?
No. So I don't remember the women's faces because I only see them once. Like, I'm not really, the gratification is for them to see me. So I don't really even pay attention to their faces. I really can't explain that part. But I don't remember the woman's face. I can't remember a single woman's face that I've ever exposed myself to.
That's interesting. So I'm assuming, like, logistically for this, like, how do you prepare? Like, does this happen spontaneously, or are you getting up, like, or in the past, like getting up and saying, okay, today is a day that I'm going to flash people. I'm going to go to a store. I'm going to wear a certain things. Like, how did you kind of set your day up around that?
So you know how you can groom a person to commit a physical sexual act on them, like you can groom a teenager or a child or whatever. Mm-hmm. But you can also groom your environment and the people around you. So you could be like, I did this when I was dating one of my ex-girlfriends, and I would lie to her and say I was going somewhere. That somewhere, I'll say I was going to the gym or whatever, to the grocery store. But instead, I would go to like the mall or whatever, like a clothing store. And you would groom your environment, and that's like finding somewhere in the environment that's secluded, finding somewhere in the environment that only has one person, things like that. And to like take advantage of it. It's a crime of opportunity. So when opportunity presents itself, you know that's an opportunity right here.
So, just to put all this together and what you were saying before, is the only reason why you don't do this still is because the next time you get caught, you're going to jail?
No. So at this point, I've gone through years of counseling, realized why I did what I did, how it affected the people that I did it to, how it affected my family, how it affected those people's family, how it's affected my life going forward and everything. And those are the reasons why I don't do it.
So, yeah, can you talk about that a little bit? Because, you end up getting caught the second time, and now it's not just a misdemeanor. Like, you are a registered sex offender. That's life-changing, right? That affects jobs. That affects just everything. So what changed in you in that moment, and what type of counseling did you seek? And yeah, I think we're just really curious what you kind of discovered about yourself, because I think a lot of people listening now are just wondering why start this? Why go through with this for so long and continue doing it? So very curious, what you've kind of learned about yourself throughout this process.
So at first I was in counseling, and I wasn't really taking it seriously. There was one guy in there. We were all in there because we were sex offenders for counseling and everything. And there was one guy in there that was talking about that he was flashed by somebody one time, and it really affected him, and like it really traumatized him and stuff. And that was coming from a person that's committed a sexual act to somebody that was egregious. And so when he told me that, I was like, wow, that really, what I did wasn't like no big deal. And throughout the entire time for counseling, the reason you're doing it is to figure out why you did what you did and to not do it again. That's the biggest thing that you want to figure out. And for me, it was just that younger, I put on this facade of being confident, of having everything together, not having any worries. And it was really a facade. I was comparing myself to everybody around me. I didn't like myself that much. And I wouldn't say I couldn't get girls, but I wasn't happy with anything. Like I wasn't really okay with rejection, and I was angry at myself, at the world. I wasn't really angry at women in particular. I was just angry with everything. And with the rejection part, when you flash somebody, like if you are trying to get a girl and she rejects you, like you try to go up to a woman at a bar or whatever, and she rejects you, that feels bad. Or I'm not sure how anybody else takes it. I can speak for other people, but for me, that could feel bad for some people, and you don't know how to take it. You don't know how to deal with it. But if you if you just flash somebody, and you know that they're going to reject you, like like I said, I didn't expect anything to come out of when I was flashing anybody. Like I didn't think any woman was going to be like, oh yeah, let's have sex right now.
Right.
So you know that there's no fear of rejection because you're expecting to be rejected. So I don't have to worry about that part.
Okay. That's interesting.
And so you're angry with yourself and everything. And just over the years, through counseling and stuff, and by growing up, I've just learned how to accept myself, become more confident, become more secure. I've become more caring and honest, and that's just helped a lot.
Okay. That's that's definitely good to hear. And, I think that makes sense. Is it also just something that gives you control and power? I imagine, and I guess kind of like what you were saying, like there is no rejection, but it's just a situation that you're just fully in control of.
Yeah. So that is another thing. So with my offense, you don't think you have control over somebody because I'm not making them look at me. I'm not there's not a child and I'm a grown person. They're on the same, you think they're on the same level as you, but they're not really. Like they're scared most likely when they see you doing this. So that just gives you a control right there. And the big thing that did it for me was we had to read this book, and it was called a Victim Empathy book. It was one of the worst books I've read in my life, honestly. Not like it was a good book, but like it was hard to read. Right. It was just about like these little girls being molested by like people close to them in their life, like their teachers, family members. And there was a section about when this girl was flashed by somebody, and she said how it made her feel and everything. And I was like, wow, that this is like really something serious. And it took me a long time to realize what I did was that serious. And it's still like people around me don't think it's that serious. Like my friends, my family, they know it's serious. Like they know like it's a like ridiculous thing to do, but they say like at least I didn't rape anybody, at least I wasn't watching child porn. And that's just like something hard for me to accept. Like they keep saying that, but like it's just like hard for me to forget myself at this point. Still.
I can speak for myself personally, and I think like a lot of people may feel the same way when this goes out, but I feel like 17 is a little old to not know that something like that could be damaging, and maybe not knowing the full extent of what that could do to someone. But I mean, you just said it yourself, like you're putting a woman in a position where they're in fear, and that gives you power. So to me, that feels like, even if it's maybe a percentage of subconsciously, but that feels like intent, like you're trying to scare someone, or you're trying to, whatever, like you have some sort of understanding that this is not the right thing to do, and that it could potentially be harming someone else.
Yes,
right?
I understood. Yeah, I understood that at the time that I'm doing it. I understand what I'm trying to do. But the thing is that it didn't seem like something that was going to like stick with them for life. It didn't seem like something that was going to really be that traumatic.
And through kind of reading like the victim empathy book and going through counseling, you kind of began to understand how much of an effect and impact flashing someone could have, where before, I guess you didn't think that it could have certain long lasting effects, but then you kind of begin to understand like this could actually be very traumatizing for a person. This would stick with them for life and affect them in a lot of ways, whether it's trust for strangers, going outside, relationships, etc.
Like it seems, at first it just seems like something somebody threw off. Like it didn't seem like that it would stick with them for any amount of time.
Right. I'm imagining like one of the hardest parts of going through this counseling, like as you kind of begin to understand the impact that your actions did have on others, then you're sort of forced to look inward, like you said. And I would imagine there's a period of shame maybe, and kind of looking at yourself differently and feeling regretful for your actions, and now understanding you have this label attached to you and you're a registered sex offender. And was that something that you kind of had to go through that I imagine was probably pretty tough to come to terms with?
Yeah, I'm still coming to terms with it right now, honestly. Like it's not easy to forgive myself at all.
Right. And I'm curious too, just like that label of registered sex offender, how has that affected your life? Just kind of day-to-day life or relationships or starting a new relationship with someone, getting a job, like whatever, kind of day-to-day instances. But how has that played a role?
Luckily, it hasn't played that big a role. I'm assuming my job knows because they did a background check on me when they hired me. Everybody that's close to me knows, and they're still close to me. I'm very lucky in that aspect. Nobody has like left my side or anything. Only thing, it is hard to find housing though. That's the hardest part.
It's hard to what?
Find somewhere to live.
Yeah, I was going to ask about that because that is something I had heard, but don't know. I've never heard it or read it anywhere, or even looked for it really. But I had heard that if you move into a neighborhood, you have to. The neighbors have to be aware that you are a registered sex offender. Is that true?
No. So the way it happens is only people that have to know are your probation officer, like law enforcement and stuff like that. But your neighbors don't have to know. But so with my offense, I don't have any restrictions, so I can live wherever I want if I get approved to live there. And they send out postcards for you. So in 2-block radius of where I live, everybody has a postcard saying that this address is a registered sex offender lives here, and my address.
Oh, okay. So your neighbors do find out that you.
They find out, yeah, but I don't have to tell them.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But they make them aware.
Got it.
Yeah.
I'm curious, like as you kind of move forward with your life, if you kind of establish new friendships, a romantic relationship with someone, how upfront about this, will you be with new people in your life?
At this point, I'm pretty upfront about it. Out of every new friend that I've made, they actually already know, because I'm like, they either like live, like they go to my gym and they know, or like live down the street or whatever. And my girlfriend, she knows. I told her as soon as we started dating and stuff. She's okay with it.
Was her reaction immediately okay with it, or did that take time?
Yeah, she was. As soon as I told her, she was like, I basically had the same discussion that we're having right now. So she was fine.
Are you glad that you got caught? I'm curious.
Glad probably isn't the right word. I would say I'm grateful.
Okay.
I got caught. I'm not happy to be a sex offender. It's been a few nights in jail. Wasn't glad about it, but fortunate that I got caught. Glad that I got caught. I'm not glad, but grateful that I got caught. Grateful that I spent time in counseling, and that was Counseling, honestly, was one of the best 2 years of my life, however long it took me to finish. I learned so much about myself, about other people, about just going through the world and how I want to live.
Did you do you think that if you had not gotten caught, you'd have just continued to do this?
Yeah. I don't see why I would stop. It would have to be somebody would have to convince me to stop.
Right. And just in all honesty, I'm curious, is there still an urge that you have? Do you find yourself out in the world? Maybe you're in a department store and it's just you, and it's the environment is naturally right for what you would look for in flashing someone. Is there still an urge that you have to fight, or does that just not even cross your mind anymore?
It did. It was at first when I didn't go to counseling. So before that.
But now you feel like you fully have that under control, and there's no fear that you have that an urge will sort of overtake you and that you might relapse back into that.
Correct. And one of the reasons why is because I was addicted to porn, and I don't watch porn anymore now. That was one of the big factors, because if I'm flashing somebody, I'm not going to flash them without an erection. But I have to watch some porn to get an erection real quick or whatever. And so that was one of the aiding factors to it.
Oh, wow. So that was kind of part of the process. Porn was part of the process of ultimately flashing someone.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I mean, like I said, you say that people in your life haven't left your side or anything like that. But you have to assume that, a bunch of people probably would not be the most forgiving for something like this. Do you have an opinion about these types of people?
Oh, not at all. I respect them for their opinion. I would never judge somebody for how they view me for doing something that's so egregious and despicable. So I wouldn't ever be mad at them about that.
Yeah. And, I feel like we've been asking this question more and more on the show with certain people and certain topics. But why speak to us? Is this helpful maybe as part of your own healing process as well, to just kind of talk about this openly, knowing that a ton of people are listening?
Yeah, that I get to see the YouTube comments once you guys post it, and get to talk to you guys, because y'all are two people that don't know me, and everybody I've told, and like I said in the email, I don't know if you guys saw it, but everybody that I've told has either had to know, legally had to know, or know me already and know who I am. So they already have a biased view coming in and viewing me as I tell them. And so when I tell you guys don't know anything about me, and y'all can form y'all's own opinions about me going from there, from a blank slate.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting, and that was kind of going to be one of my questions as well, because you think that, someone who is a registered sex offender would do everything to kind of keep that under wraps. So why go out of your way to say this on a platform where my guess is it's not going to be received very well?
Yeah, I had that same assumption, but I mean, people on the internet are strangers. I'm doing my very best to be a better man, treat people that I come across every single day with love and respect. And I just want to tell people out there that people can change, and I'm doing my very best to change.
And legally, what, I know you mentioned you had a probation officer. How long do you have that? Is there someone that you have to check into? Are you actively going to therapy or groups or something like that?
Yeah, so I just finished therapy, actually, what is it called? About in February. And for you to finish it all the way through, you have to complete polygraphs and also do month. So I had to go there every week on Thursday mornings. And after you finish like all of the units and everything, after that, you get to go one time a month.
Okay.
And also I'm on probation for 5 years, and I see her every month.
Gotcha. So that's interesting. So they really almost treat it like a rehabilitation course, and really, like you said, a polygraph, and try to get data and confirmation that you're not basically bullshitting your way through this, but actually understanding this is wrong and making changes. That's interesting and good to hear. And when it comes to the label of registered sex offender, is that for life, or is there like an amount of rehab essentially, or courses you can do to kind of lose that title?
And my offense is for 10 years. It's just with state training and everything. Gotcha.
Okay. Well, yeah, no, I mean, we do appreciate the honesty. And like you said, I think that's, we can't promise what the YouTube comments are going to be like, but, you know, we can appreciate you coming on and being honest. And, you know, it's, to me at least, it's nice to hear that you want to talk about this, and it's essentially you owning it, I would say, and understanding that and continuing to process what that wrongdoing was and how you can be a better person. I would think that could be more effective than just trying to completely sweep it under the rug, hide it, and act like it's not part of your life. So, you know, we really do appreciate the honesty and you putting yourself on this platform, like you said, to be judged by strangers, essentially.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Of course, man. Have a good one.
I want you to imagine quickly, what if we took care of our minds the same way that we take care of our cars or computers or phones or sneakers or any material items that mean a lot to us? On this show, we're big believers that the way we take care of our minds affects how we experience life. For myself, and I know that I can speak for Joe as well, therapy has helped us in so many ways. It helps us better navigate and prepare for the ups and downs of our lives, our careers, and that's why we're always happy to tell you about BetterHelp Online Therapy. BetterHelp is online therapy that offers video, phone, and even live chat-only therapy sessions, so you don't have to even see anyone on camera if you don't want to. Plus, it's much more affordable than in-person therapy, and you can be matched with a therapist in under 48 hours. Our listeners get 10% off their first month at BetterHelp.com/OPL. That's BetterHelp.com/OPL for 10% off your first month.
Man, that is such like a strange, I don't know, that this feels like different than any other episode we've ever done before.
Yeah, look, completely honest, in the beginning, it felt eerie. It felt like I felt scared.
Also, I mean, it almost, to me, this is me being completely transparent and forgetting that we're recording the show right now, but a part of me back there was like, should we even post this? Like, are we doing the right thing by giving a platform to this? Because this is like, and I want it to be, and like, I think the answer is yes, because the whole point of this show is to show different sides of humanity and people dealing with different things and this and that. Most of our show up until this point, our guests we've been, like I said, for the most part, sympathetic to, and we've given them a platform, and they've vented to us, and whatever. But this feels like the show on its head, because this is not us trying to like really sympathize or like really do anything here. It's a difficult thing to kind of wrap my mind around. Like, it's all like very new to me, like right now as well.
Yeah.
Like I'm not trying to, be like, oh, he's a good guy. And he's like, we're not here to make that call.
No, this isn't, I don't have empathy or sympathy or like, this was a very wrong and weird and strange and like perverted thing to do, for sure. Like I thank him for being honest, and I truly hope that his rehabilitation is working and that he is truly becoming a better person and does not have whatever that was inside of him. That I hope for. And I think the idea of people being able to change is huge. I think that's like worth a discussion. But I think to your point before, it makes me think of an episode that we did a while ago that we did not post. And we spoke to a woman, if you remember, whose husband was arrested for child pornography. And she was walking us through the story of like how he got caught. And throughout, like, I don't know if she meant this intentionally, but she was almost like downplaying it and like defending him in certain ways. And we felt really strange. Like we felt really turned off by that. And I think we ended that conversation and we said, there's no way that we're posting that, because there was no like accountability behind it. And what is the point of that if you're going to try to defend these type of actions? I think despite his cadence and delivery being very straightforward,
extremely calm,
monotone, calm, which definitely added this like other layer that like made a dirty thing feel even like dirtier and darker. But listening to his words, I mean, I think I heard full accountability. Like, I think the rehab is going to be important because, like he said, he doesn't see why he would have stopped if he didn't get caught. But the fact is he got caught and he's going through the motions and going through the steps. And yeah, we're not here to say like, awesome, like we feel for you. Like, no, dude, like you're going to pay for your actions. You're a registered sex offender, you know. But like he's being accountable and he wants to own this and talk about it, and I guess just offer that perspective, which, to be honest, when I think of to post this or not, like you said, that is a big part of the show too, is here's a perspective like you're not going to hear. How many sex offenders out there are going to be willing to share their story and what their kind of path to rehabilitation looks like? I don't think many. And I think that's that's interesting. Just that pure level of honesty and being willing to share his experiences and learnings.
Yeah, I do think that, and look, man, like I said, that's why I said it before. Like, I think 17 is too old to not be knowing that people will be affected by this shit. But if he is telling the truth in that, and that he truly didn't know at 17, which is very possible, I tend to feel like that's bullshit. But it is possible. It's not impossible. And if he didn't know how it would affect people, and he's saying the only reason why he stopped and the reason why he's off of this shit is because he realized how it does affect people, and you know how you can like permanently hurt someone by doing something like that. If the only reason why he stopped doing it is because he learned about that through books or whatever, then I'm okay with posting this, because if that is true and there is one other person out there that feels like this might be a good idea, but they hear this and then they go, oh, maybe I shouldn't, then it will be worth it for that. And like you said, you made a good point in that this guest is not necessarily defending their actions, more so just showing us like, okay, I did this thing and it was really bad, and I'm going through the motions, and I'm just like a person who has to deal with this. Like, it's unfortunate, and it's not the fucking coolest thing in the world, and it's also not the easiest thing to hear either, on the show. But at the end of the day, yeah, we all are people, and when we all are dealt a hand, and we make your own bed, and you kind of have to deal with it. And this is just another person who decided to do some fucked up shit, is paying for it now, and is allegedly on the road to recovery and never doing it again. So if that's true, then that's great for him. And yeah, so. I do believe that people can change. It's difficult when it comes to things like this because it feels more premeditated and psychological. That's a whole other conversation, and I don't know this guy personally, so it's not my call to make. Yeah. But yeah, definitely.
I will say too, to your point, like the one thing that I don't agree with, and he wasn't saying this himself necessarily, but he mentioned how the people around him, and I'm sure these are his true like family, friends, loved ones, trying to offer support, but saying like, at least it's not child porn, at least it's not rape. Like that's dangerous. That's a slippery slope. You shouldn't be comparing, I think, like how extreme this is. Like, do not downplay what he did to people and like the trauma that could cause on people. I'm sure, like I said, if that's family that are in his corner that probably maybe see how like depressed or shameful he feels kind of as he accepts this. But I don't think that's healthy advice, especially to like give to him. But it didn't seem like he said that. He didn't say that as if it was something he believed, but he said that the people around him are kind of feeding that to him, which makes me feel like he's at least aware that that's not helpful necessarily.
No, I think that might have been one of the more crazier things I've heard, is something like that, to try and justify it and saying like, well, at least you didn't murder someone. Like what?
Yeah.
Like we're all not murdering. Like that's not something to be like patted on the back for.
Yeah.
But yeah, again, yeah, I mean, that's just like it's a tough one, you know, like doing the show, we're not the ones who are supposed to pass judgment here. And I'm desperately trying not to do that. But this is, like I said, this is just a tough one. It's just a tough, like, content to be dealing with.
Yeah. It feels like new territory, and it just feels, you know, again, just like his delivery of the whole thing could almost come across as nonchalant, but I think again, like the words he was saying, not necessarily how he said it, makes me feel and hope like that his rehabilitation is real and that he truly believes that he can change and that he is changing. We hope. I don't know, but
I will say I do think talking about it in a public forum and demeaning your own actions is a step in the right direction. That I will say.
Yeah. I would agree. I would definitely agree. But
how big a step? God knows. But
one of many steps that, steps he may have to take for the rest of his life. And hopefully he does. But
for anyone out there that wants to be a guest on our show, don't hesitate to reach out to us. You can reach us at oplpodcast@gmail.com or our website, oplshow.com.
Yeah, follow us on Instagram at OPL Podcast. If you want to become a patron, head over to patreon.com/OPL Show to help support the show. And that is all until next week.
Yep, that's all. See you guys next time.